doodle trees, and landscapes. Learning to draw with creative lines. Learning targets. We can think about how artists use lots of different lines to create trees and practice and experiment with a variety of lines to draw trees. What are doodle trees and how can I use a variety of lines to create them? Let's watch this video and find out.
Hi boys and girls, this is Mrs. Kelly. I am coming to you live from the Winchester classroom. I know a lot of you out there know who I am if you're from Ridgewood or Winchester, and maybe some of you from a few other schools who have moved around. But for those of you who do not know me, I am one of the art teachers in Northville, and your art teacher that you may remember from last year is a good friend of mine. So I know all the other art teachers, and we are working together this year to bring you guys the best art lessons possible. So for this lesson, for my second and my third grade students, we are going to be learning how artists use all different kinds of lines to make really cool and interesting artwork. And we're going to start with practicing how to use all those different kinds of lines to make doodle trees. Now, one of the things you might be wondering is, what is a doodle tree? Well, if you think about what a doodle might be, when you're just kind of drawn and your lines are going where your imagination takes you, a doodle tree is kind of like doing that, except you're also kind of trying to make it look like a tree. And so that's where we're trying to get to by the end of this lesson, is to have a few doodle trees that each of us draw that we can be really proud of. Because next week, I'm going to show you how to turn those doodle trees into really magical landscapes. So behind me, you can see what might look like a really cool piece of artwork. What this is, these are different pictures of digital artwork that artists have made. You may recognize the one in the middle is from Dr. Seuss's The Lorax, and then there's some other examples in the background that have been made on computers. If you've ever wondered how those computer animators and artists and book illustrators and people that work on movies and cartoons ever learn how to make all those really cool magical landscapes that you see in books and movies, this is where they start. They learn how to draw first. So maybe if you want to grow up to be an animator or somebody who works on books and movies, you might be really interested in this. So here's an example of what we're going to be working on today using all different kinds of lines. So you might want to think back from first grade if you're a second grader, or from second grade if you're a third grader. What kinds of lines do you remember using when you were in your art classroom? So here's lots of examples of patterns and lines that you can make using different kinds of lines. So we remember straight up and down lines, those are easy. Horizontal lines, we're going to use that word horizontal next week when we make our landscapes. Diagonal lines, crisscross lines, dashed lines, dotted lines, scalloped lines, bumpy lines, lines over top of lines that look like a rainbow, loopy lines, zigzag lines, all those kinds of lines you might remember making when you were a little bit younger in art class before is what we're going to be using today, except today we're going to transform them into doodle trees. So doodle trees can kind of look like this. And to help you, at the end of this video, there will be a little tab underneath the video that you can scroll down to in Schoology and click on that, and you'll get to see these too that you can actually print out on your computer if you want to have a copy to look at. But I also have them here for you to look at, so you can see these trees were drawn with many different kinds of lines. Some of them have dashed lines, some of them have dotted lines, some of them have zigzag lines or bumpy lines or spiral lines even. That's what you're going to do today, is really get super creative using all of your art supplies to bring them all together to make all different kinds of lines. That's where artists start, is by using their imagination and practicing. All right.
Here's some examples of other book illustrations of creative trees. You might get some good ideas by looking at these. Now, this video is going to show you how to create your doodle trees and all the materials and steps you need to get started. Let's watch.
All right, we are ready to get started, boys and girls. So, before you begin doing your work, you need to collect your art materials. You're going to need a clean white sheet of paper like this with no lines or markings or writings on it. White copy paper for this will work just fine if you have that at your house. You're also probably going to want to use a pencil. If you have a black marker, you can grab that too because that's really helpful to draw with. And then maybe also an eraser and some colored pencils to add color when we're done drawing. All right, I'm going to start with the black marker so you can see what I'm drawing through the camera. Normally when I'm drawing at home, I start with a pencil, but when I'm using a video like this, I want to use a marker so you can see it. Okay, so we are not drawing a landscape today. We are just going to practice drawing trees on our paper. So it really doesn't matter what place on the paper you start. I'm going to start here at the top so I have lots of space for myself. And I'm going to start with using a dashed line, and I'm going to make some dashed lines that are kind of close together like this. See if I can kind of shape them to look like it might be the top of a tree. Oh, now it's starting to look like dotted lines. That's pretty cool too. Once I think I have enough, I think I need to get a tree trunk. It's missing a tree trunk. So I'm going to make some lines down to my tree trunk right here. Look at that. And I already have my first doodle tree. And that was just with dashed lines and a few little dots at the bottom. Now I could add more to that if I wanted to make it look a little bit more interesting or more fancy, but since we're just practicing, I'm going to go ahead and try a different kind of doodle tree. This time I'm going to try making curved lines. Make curved lines right over top of each other. Oh, that looks pretty interesting. I wonder how that's going to look like a tree. I know, we need a tree trunk. Huh, just adding a line straight down makes it look kind of like a tree. Now if I wanted to leave it like this, I could, or I could add some other things on it. Like I think I'm going to put some dots on the end. That just seems fun to me. Maybe I want to add some more dashed lines on my tree. Maybe I want to put some dotted lines up here. Now, if you are in second grade and you've never drawn a tree before, don't worry if you can't make yours look like mine. That's okay. Yours do not have to look just like mine. You can do the best you can with the lines that you know how to make. So another kind of line that is actually one of my favorite to draw with is a spiral line. So I'm going to start this tree by drawing a spiral and making my spiral get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Oh, that looks pretty cool. Now if I were to add a tree trunk to that, ooh, it kind of looks like a lollipop. That looks pretty cool. But I'm going to make another branch going out this way, turn that into a spiral, and another branch going out that way, and turn that into a spiral. That looks really interesting to me. I like it. All right, I'm going to keep going because there's lots of different kinds of trees I can make, right? After I get this one just the way that I want it. There's my cool looking spiral tree. Next one, I'm going to do a wavy line tree. Over here on my paper, I'm going to start with a wavy line that just kind of goes back and forth, back and forth. It's going to kind of look like an ice cream cone. Look at that. And then maybe I'll do a wavy line for this tree trunk. Ooh, kind of reminds me of a Christmas tree or an evergreen tree. Now I could decorate it with bulbs or a star or whatever, or leave it just like that because it looks pretty cool the way it is. And before I get to coloring, I think I'm gonna do a zigzag tree. This one might end up kind of looking like a cactus by the time I'm done. Ooh, that looks pretty cool. Now I'm gonna add my tree trunk. This is a little short tree. He hasn't grown up yet. I like that. That looks really interesting. So as you can see, I'm just really using all the different kinds of lines I know how to make, like dashed lines and dotted lines, and then trying to get them into the shape of a tree so that it looks like there might be branches or a tree trunk. And when I'm all done trying these different kinds of lines, making my doodle trees, I'm going to take a few minutes and add some color. Now, oftentimes trees are green, yes, but it is getting closer to fall, so you could, if you wanted to make your trees different colors to resemble fall colors, that is another way to do it. But definitely adding colors to your trees will make them come to life too. It'll help you tell where the top of the tree is and where the tree trunk is. You could use markers for this, but colored pencil will not cover up all of those cool lines that you made in your trees, like that. You see, coloring just a little bit can make a big difference in how your picture will look. I've made other ones too, like this. That looks like the popsicle tree. Or I have a tree over here that looks like popcorn on a stick. So really, it's up to your imagination. I hope you have fun today working on this, and next week I'm going to teach you how to turn these doodle trees into some magical landscapes. Have fun drawing. Bye-bye. All right.
Now it's your turn. You can collect the materials you need: an unlined white sheet of paper, a pencil, an eraser, colored pencils, and a black marker if you have one. You can also print out the doodle tree examples if you need some help. Good luck. Have fun drawing.